Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I'm here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And Geeky Sparkles wanted to do this video. She found this earlier today talking about Rotten Tomatoes because Rotten Tomatoes doesn't matter unless they can use it against the fans.
That's right.
So this is coming from comicbook.com. Rotten Tomatoes movie scores don't matter, so quit whining about them.
Right, but they're the ones that are always like, hey, Rotten Tomatoes says this, that, and everything else. So I just thought this article was really, really funny. Because basically you're talking about what we all know, which is Rotten Tomatoes is a load of crap and doesn't mean anything anyway, okay? So we already know that. Everybody keeps talking about it, but they're mad because people like us make videos or articles about the fact that, you know, we keep bringing up Rotten Tomatoes being a joke.
Yeah, so this is you know, within the first sentence, comicbook.com sort of undermines their point. When fans attempt to discuss a film or TV show's strengths or weaknesses, they might call attention to the script, direction, cast, or production value, all of which are valid components to praise or criticize.
Unless you don't agree with them. Because those are all components people complained about with Star Wars, and they were told they were racist fanboy man-baby trolls. And oh yeah, I want to mention that Patrick Kavanaugh, who wrote this article, he's going on about you're allowed to not like it, you're allowed to inform your own opinion, writes about toxic fans all the stinking time.
Yeah, there's a whole list of articles he's done about.
Well, those are all his, but you know, when you click on a lot of the toxic fans articles, it's a lot of times it's Patrick Kavanaugh.
Whatever gets hits that day. I've noticed that, and I mentioned this in another video yesterday, actually, Comic Book Resources seems to be doing an about face. I think they're starting to realize that they're on the wrong side of it. Yeah, but not a lot of these sites are starting to now. They're starting to come around and sort of agree with the fans now after spending the last 5 or 6 years demonizing fans, because I think they're seeing their numbers decline. And they're seeing YouTubers' numbers take off.
Well, just wait till you see this article, okay? Despite the number of people who claim the site is problematic, those same dissenters can't seem to stop whining about it. So Patrick's going to write a whole article about it. But yeah, and he was also the one saying about, you know, all the, you know, toxic fans, people that are whining. He did, the Game of Thrones were reportedly nervous about the toxic fans and all this stuff. So, you know, pot or kettle. Anyway, so they're talking about how it's basically, you know, how Rotten Tomatoes works. And we all know it's a load of crap. It's not even legit. And they don't even count the audience scores. They just count the critic scores, you know, and it's opinion based and it's just a lot of garbage. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, you have to realize, too, a lot of these sites, I just want to pull this up real quick. Like, the Mary Sue is constantly hitting people over the head with Rotten Tomatoes, Rotten Tomatoes, Rotten Tomatoes. You're trolling Rotten Tomatoes. Man, babies, we're going to shut you down because Carol's awesome. But, you know, a lot of the people who are the loudest voices on these websites are actually Rotten Tomatoes certified critics.
Right. They want you to read their criticism because they're going to tell you what you should think.
Right.
They go down here and be like, some fans even started conspiracy theories that Disney was paying critics for positive reviews, despite no proof. So basically, you shouldn't even listen to Rotten Tomatoes, and then they make a whole bunch of reasons why Rotten Tomatoes is right. You know, it just, you know, goes on and it brings up Captain Marvel, of course, because, you know, everybody was voting it down, even though there was a bunch of people voting it up, too, because there was a whole campaign to do it on the opposite way. We've seen them vote up other shows that were crap just because there was a movement to do so.
Well, with Rotten Tomatoes, the reason people think that Rotten Tomatoes is on the dole from Disney is that the guy who runs the site, the head of Fandango, was a Disney executive, and a lot of the big battles were waged over Disney movies.
It was, and I'm going to tell you, there were a bunch of seats that were supposedly sold for movies that were Disney films that had nobody in them. So you can sit there and say, there's conspiracy theories. There's conspiracy theories about a lot of stuff. I'm sorry, there are. But there's also a reason, there's a kernel of truth at the heart of most of it. Anyway, but here, I love this. You do not need validation from any critic or fellow fan, as art is an entirely subjective and personal experience. George Lucas warned Ron Howard about the toxic fans, written by the same author. He also wrote the one about Game of Thrones creators are reportedly nervous about the toxic fans.
If you didn't like The Last Jedi, sites like comicbook.com, Comic Book Resources, the Mary Sue would tell you what a horrible person you were.
Right, but you do not need validation for any critic or fellow fan. It's subjective and personal experience. Well, gee, no shit, Sherlock. We already could have told you that. People don't need your approval to like or dislike things, but you kept putting yourself in a position, well, the site did, that, you know, you had to have their approval.
This just blows my mind. For years, these sites have attacked fans who didn't like, you know, certain movies or certain TV shows or the direction of certain TV shows, and they're basically like, you had to defend yourself. You had to be like, we're allowed to not like it. We're allowed to not like it.
I don't know how many times people are like, why do you keep saying that you lean left? Because you don't understand. If you don't say that, you automatically get called all these names. It's like, well, you're a misogynist. Well, I'm a woman. Well, you're an alt-right Yahtzee, except I lean left. It's ridiculous. The lengths they'll go to vilify people who don't agree with them are ridiculous. And I'm not talking about just the site. I'm talking about Twitter in general and these nuts in general. And it goes on. If you find faults with an award-winning movie with hundreds of positive reviews, or if you love a movie that's almost universally hated, attempting to change one's mind by using anyone else's opinion. I think by using other opinion as ammunition only ruins the point you are trying to make and invalidate the strength of your own opinion. So basically, you can't argue with anybody because you can't change your mind or have discussion because you're invalidating your point.
What the hell are they talking about?
I don't think he knows what the hell he's talking about.
It sounds like they want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to be able to call certain fans horrible people, but they also want to reserve the right to disagree with fans.
Well, they just got done saying that it's pointless. The Rotten Tomatoes isn't worth getting upset about. And then they talk about the Disney, how there's these conspiracy theories. Well, what difference does it make? If Rotten Tomatoes doesn't matter, it's a crapshoot anyway, and you can have your own opinion. Why do we have to bring Disney into it? Why are we bringing Captain Marvel into it next? Ahead of the release of Captain Marvel, the film earned thousands of negative reviews from fans, besides having not seen it. Okay, I do admit that sometimes things are voted unfairly, and that happens. I mean, you'd be lying to say otherwise. It totally happens. But it happens on the flip side, too. Things are voted up, all the time as well. And just because a bunch of people decide to get together on Instagram or something, and they start a hashtag, like they saw it with She-Ra, and then there was all these upvotes for no reason, and it would just have, like, no comment at all, or yay lesbians. I mean...
Yeah, I know. It's
It's like, so they go on about Captain Marvel and how it was voted down and all this other crap. So basically they're saying one thing but then using it to troll people again in the article.
What about Doctor Who? So Doctor Who got, I don't consider it review bombing, but it got so much backlash on Rotten Tomatoes because they decided to retcon the entire series, but then you had news outlets like the Radio Times out there basically telling people to just suck it up, and if you
didn't like it, you're misogynist.
This is the way it is.
Female doctor.
Yeah.
I still love this. There's an old adage that lions don't lose sleep over the opinions of sheep, which conveys the notion that powerful, confident predators shouldn't be concerned with what someone much weaker than them might think. So if you don't agree with them, don't agree with you, they're weaker than you. That's what you just said. That is what they just said.
So okay, this is the problem. And this is why these sites are flipping out, because for years they fancied themselves as being the lions, and they
just basically said so.
Yeah, and they thought that the readers, the plebs, were the sheep, and then along came social media, along came YouTube, and along came people that existed outside the system that could challenge them.
Along came critical thinking.
Along came critical thinking. And so now you've got fans challenging these websites. And I'm sorry, these websites have done more to create animosity.
Agree.
With between movies and fandoms.
I agree.
They're
out there constantly calling people who don't agree with them. Trolls, man-babies, misogynists. We saw it with She-Ra. We saw it with Captain Marvel. We saw it with Ghostbusters. We see it with Star Trek. We see it with Doctor Who. It's a constant thing. They're constantly, trolling people and going on about it.
How do you be a real Star Wars
Well, that was
fan?
actually internet. That was a thing on Twitter.
Yeah, but that's the mentality, though. The mentality for the longest time, especially with The Last Jedi, because they're saying now that you can have whatever opinion you want to have. But I distinctly remember, if you did not like The Last Jedi, these sites would take you to task and basically tell you you're wrong and you're awful.
It's okay now because they're talking about The Rise of Skywalker, which they didn't like. So now you're allowed to have an opinion. We saw it with Mary Sue, too, the whole article about, I don't like how Game of Thrones went. Fans, you're allowed to feel how you want to feel unless you disagree with me.
Yeah.
It's basically, and that was that Rachel Leichman again. It was basically it's what the whole thing boils down to. Predators shouldn't be concerned what people weaker than them think. You shouldn't be concerned what other people's opinions are. Well, one, I don't look at people as if they're weaker than me, first of all.
Yeah.
But these comments over here, I wanted to point something out, though. So they have comments talking about it, but you get down to this comment here, and this is Azizi. What I've always thought that Rotten Tomatoes was BS, but why is Comic.com always writing articles about the Rotten Tomatoes score for the next big movie? They don't matter. And then we get 5 replies, and almost all of them from this Wolfman. Well, as stated in the article, blah, 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 blah. Guess I don't read the articles I love this one. I guess don't read the articles that aren't of interest to you then. Pretty good strategy. So you're like, wow, who's this person, and why is he white knighting so hard for this author? You go up here and click on Patrick Kavanaugh. Oh my gosh, look, it's the same picture! Because
he is the Wolfman on Twitter.
I know.
So it's Patrick Kavanaugh. So I thought that the lions don't lose sleep over the opinions of sheep. Why do you feel the need to react or respond to every criticism? Mm-hmm. You know, that's one thing we learned on YouTube now. Sometimes we will respond to things if it's really ridiculous or egregious, but for the most part, we're like, whatever. Yeah, it's like whatever.
I know. And here's the thing, though. Do I think Rotten Tomatoes is a joke? Yes.
Yeah.
Agree with him 100%. Rotten Tomatoes is a joke. However, I'm saying Rotten Tomatoes is a joke. I don't have to write a whole article about talking about, and then finding a whole bunch of ways to slam people. Well, there's all these people like making up lies about Disney, and people didn't like Captain Marvel. So you're just basically using a Rotten Tomatoes thing to get people in there to read it, and then you sit there and turn around and slam fans for disagreeing with you.
You know, my tinfoil mouse ears are going off. Everybody realizes at this point that Disney is out of money. So we don't have to white knight for Disney anymore. Now we can just let the opinions fly and let the chips fall where they may because Disney's broke.
Oh, but that's just a lie because that's just a bunch of rumors. People are just assuming that Disney did things like that.
I can tell you that Disney does what Disney had to, past tense, because they're running out of money. Disney does what they have to do to push public opinion in the right direction. Mm-hmm. The mouse has many fingers, many white-gloved fingers, in many different pies. That sounds really bad.
It does sound really bad.
But don't underestimate a multi-billion-dollar corporation with ties to the media when there are billions of dollars at stake, what they will do to make sure that their movies are big hits.
Right. So at the end of the day, this article, agree, Rotten Tomatoes is a crap show, and it's a joke, and it doesn't really matter. Agree that fans should be allowed to have whatever opinion the hell they want, and that's up to them, and they can make their own decisions. They don't have to have, people like Patrick Kavanaugh or other critics telling them what they should and shouldn't think, even though, interestingly enough, they were being called names the other day. And, I agree with those 2 points, but I completely disagree with the fact that this article starts up one way and then turns around and uses it as a way to attack fans. Throughout the article. And I don't agree with, wolves and predators and, all that. I'm like, I'm sorry. If someone disagrees with me, I don't automatically think that they're beneath me and weaker than me because they disagree with me.
Yeah, that's what started this whole thing. That attitude that the media had, that you basically had geeks on a power trip who got jobs working for these media outlets, and they suddenly thought they were the lions.
They're weaker than you. You mean like when they don't agree with you and you start calling them names like trolls, man babies, misogynists, racists, phobes, whatever, because you're trying to show that they're weaker than you. You're trying to show that they're somehow less than to elevate your opinion. And I'm not just talking about this author, I'm just saying in general. I'm not saying this person did that specifically, even though they do write an awful lot about toxic fans any other time.
I think they see which way the wind's blowing. I think these sites know, one, they're going to start running out of money because all these studios that give them advertising revenue aren't going to have the money to spend on these websites anymore. The comic book publishers are all shutting down. And I think they realize that they've been on the wrong side of things. So you got to wonder, are their opinions legit, or are they just, doing a 180 because they want to try to stay in good graces?
And when they're going to get jacked because we made this video, to which my comment will be, quote, I guess don't listen to the video then. They aren't interest of you. Pretty good strategy. Like you said, don't read the articles that you deliberately said was one thing and then made it about something else.
It's not for you.
So I guess this video isn't for you, so why watch it then? Pretty good strategy, huh?
All right, so we're going to wrap this one up.
Yeah, I'm just tired of hypocrisy.
Geeky is the tiger king. She's not a lion. She's the tiger
I'm the tiger queen.
The queen of tigers. All right, we're going to wrap this up.
That's right.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we'll talk later.
Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.